Welcome to the Wisdom of Women show. We are dedicated to amplifying the voice of women in business. A new model of leadership is emerging, and we are here to amplify the voices of women leading the way. I am your host, Coco Selman, five-time founder, impact investor, and creator of the Force for Good system. Thank you for joining us today as we illuminate the path to unlocking opportunities and prosperity for women-led enterprises by amplifying the voice and wisdom of women. Today, we have a cocktail capitalist in our midst. Bridget Firtlel is a powerhouse founder who left a high-flying Wall Street hedge fund career to build one of New York's most beloved spirits brands, Owney rum, long before craft distilling was a movement. With her rare blend of financial acumen and street-level grit, she grew Owney's into a national success and forged a strategic partnership with Proximo Spirits before successfully exiting in 2020. Never one to stay still, Bridget went on to found Rockaway Soda, launched New York Raised Us, and established the Cyclone Group, all while investing in and advising purpose-led ventures. Recognized by Forbes 30 Under 30, the Financial Times, New York Times, and CNBC, Bridget has been known for breaking molds, building legacies, and leading with fierce independence. A native New Yorker to the core, Bridget brings both edge and empathy to the entrepreneurial game, proving that building a company of substance starts with the courage to bet it all on your vision. Bridget, it is such a treasure to have you here.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me, Coco. I am just so excited to be here on so many levels. That was probably the nicest intro I've ever had by anyone. So thank you so much for that. The energy is very positive. I'm glad to be spending some time with you.
So I know we have a lot to talk about, but first, tell us about a book written by a woman that has influenced your life.
Yeah, I went back to my childhood with this one. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn kind of popped in. I was overthinking it because there's so many amazing books and so many amazing women, but I just was like, back to my roots, literally and figuratively, with A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And not that I personally identify with that story because I had a more privileged childhood, but my mom specifically identifies very much so with that story. And so formed a connection there. And yeah, and I'm due to reread that book. I think this is maybe going to inspire me too.
Oh, that's wonderful. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I just love how consistent that is with your whole persona, who you are as a person. You are such a New Yorker, and you have been building brands that reflect that in your entrepreneurial career. I usually ask for moments that have influenced your life, but I know today has been a big moment. And you were announcing some big news. You want to share it with us?
So as you mentioned in your intro, I had sold my firstborn business baby, Owney's Rum, to Proximo Spirits in actually 2017. The deal closed and I stayed on till 2020 when I fully left. Earlier this month, privately, but now publicly as of today, I have repurchased Owney's Rum from Proximo Spirits, which is huge.
Oh my goodness. So tell us, how did this happen? Why did this happen? Tell us everything.
It's still very surreal. I'm still processing it all. When I sold the business in 2017, I worked for Proximo till 2020. While I'm grateful for that exit and the opportunity and all of the things, it was very textbook entrepreneur within a corporation, stuff you hear all the time, feeling restricted and just in a structure that didn't allow me to do whatever I wanted, which is what I like to do. So wound up walking away happy and content. But, there was always something, like for the past 5 years, we were in the pandemic for the first couple of those. And there's always something, mind always drifted to Owney's. And I kind of just pushed it down. I didn't want to touch the flame. I didn't want to know. There was some heartbreak there, honestly. I had put so much of my soul into it. and been grateful for an exit, but there was just something always unsettled about it. Earlier this year, sometime in the summer, I received a text. They acquired my employees as well, which was great. A couple of them still work for Proximo happily. I received a text from one of them saying, "Hey, we have these old bottles or old barrels of Owney's. I want to get them to you because we're not going to use them." That sparked a thought. I was actually going to an event that night with a woman who I used to work with Owney's, who now has her own distillery. I was going to support her there. And I was like, "Hey, could you get the barrels? Would you take the barrels off the books for them?" Anyway, long story long, from that night on, a couple of texts with bartenders and people connected to Proximo. And like someone was just like, "Just call them up and see what's going on." So I called the lawyer that I did the deal with, their general counsel. And I was like, "Hey," in like the most calm, strong way, like, "Want to sell it back?" And he's like, "I think we could make something happen." And a few short months later, here we are. It just feels so good.
What feels good about it?
I just feel like it's back to home. Like I feel like it's home, and I have been operating it to continue to operate a soda business, and it's never felt quite like Owney's. It's been different. So excited to have creative control over it, to be back in bars and restaurants. I love the energy in New York City of bars and restaurants. My back to a tree grows in Brooklyn. My maternal grandfather owned a bar on Flatbush Avenue, south part of Brooklyn in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. So it's just kind of like in my blood. And there's a fire that's been squashed for the past several years. I just feel really strong. I'm also anxious, like jumping back into something. We're going to do a bit of a brand refresh and relaunch, and that general uncertainty of being an entrepreneur and not knowing where things are going to go. But there's a lot of emotions being held right now.
Oh my goodness. I know it's so fresh. And when I think about how this even just presented itself a few months ago as a real finite thing you could do, it's a lot. And in the meantime, you're building a really beautiful and growing brand with Rockaway sodas, which, by the way, I always have in my refrigerator for all
Thank
my
you so much.
founders events and my family. It's very fun. Anyway, one of the things for me is I miss having a profitable business. I love that. That's something that I can't wait to have again. And I've been thinking about buying a business myself that has profit so I can enjoy that once again. Is that part of it for you? Or are there other parts that help us understand?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's so. When I first had an aha moment, I was at the hedge fund still. I was an investor at a hedge fund in consumer goods. And I had this aha moment. I was investing in global alcoholic beverages. And I was soul searching. I was looking to get into private investing in kind of like 6 months, trying to figure out what was next. And I was sitting at the desk at my hedge fund. And I've told this story a lot before, but I was watching a TED talk by a professor, and I can never find this TED talk. He was talking to Stanford MBAs about venture capital. And he was saying, you can't just say, "I want to become a venture capitalist." You have to go out and get the experience, run a business, start a business, fail, succeed, whatever. That is like irreplaceable and invaluable to bring to a venture capital firm. And it just hit. And I was like, I'm going to bring rum distilling back to New York City. It hasn't been distilled here in over 100 years. And, it was the first spirit we distilled in the 1600s on Staten Island. I was in my 20s and I was like, I can put all of my savings into it, get some angel investors, move back home with my parents in Rockaway and hit the ground running. I was just a ball of fire about it. And, there are lessons from it I'll take into 2.0, which is like I ran really hard, really fast for 5 years. And I got to a point which led to the exit of like, okay, I'm tired. I need a partner. And that's a whole other story. But in terms of understanding that feeling of fire, it was one of a kind. And I think it's coming back now. And after the exit, to relate to you, I started Rockaway Soda as a creative outlet side project. I was consulting, I was investing, I was doing things. And then by the end of 2022, I came to the conclusion, I really need to be an operator, right? Like I am an operator, and that's what stimulates me. So I leaned all the way into Rockaway Soda and put all the other things on the back burner. There's been a tremendous amount of learning in that business as well, but it was never the same aha moment as the origin story of Rockaway was more like wanting a creative outlet in homage to my hometown in a healthier category than rum. and been more analytically driven than mind driven, than gut and heart driven.
I love that. I do. And because sometimes we have to go through that as founders. And I love that you're sharing that you're an operator. I'm the same way. I've done some investing and I like it, but it's sort of like, well, now what? You want to get your hands in there, and that feeling of passion and engagement. It's really, there's nothing like it. Are you doing this with a partner? Are you going it alone? Gosh, you're amazing.
I should say my family, my husband is my partner now in all of the things. We have 2 young children. We're doing that together. He's supporting this, the Rockaway soda business. We have a podcast now together too, which is just for fun, all about New York stuff and our childhood in New York. No real operational or financial partner, but an emotional partner for sure. Someone who will go pick things up and stand at a trade show and support in all of those ways. This is mine now, and 100%.
So I know this is really soon, but what now with Rockaway Soda?
It's still one of my businesses. It's a lot at once. Honestly, all of this has happened really fast. With Owney, said we're going to go through a bit of a brand refresh for Owney. So it'll be some time before that's in market again. And in that time, I'll figure out, I think there are strategic synergies between the 2 companies from a distribution standpoint. Some distributors carry both non-alc and alc. It was never a first use occasion for Rockaway soda, but it does make a great mixer that can happen there. And I'm just feeling it out and trying not to rush or push anything, which is honestly a challenge for me because I operate in a very intense force and speed. My practice is to slow down and figure it out. Perhaps Rockaway leans more. We haven't leaned a lot into digital channels for distribution. It's been primarily traditional retail. So perhaps that goes into a more digital and goes into a more traditional realm in terms of shelf and retail. Potentially Owney's distribution could unlock a whole other channel for Rockaway soda as well. We are very much in the grocery channel right now. We haven't activated in on-premise bars, restaurants, or music venues. So there's a lot of ways that things can go.
I think it's so exciting. And for all of our listeners, it's so great to hear you in real time, making your leaps and your choices and the uncertainty. We have moments where we have a plan and it's clear and we know what we're doing exactly. But a lot of the time you spend sort of seeing what's going to work and following your gut. And I'm sure this is a good business opportunity for you too, right?
Yes. It's gut, and it's like there's so much noise in the world these days. It's the practice of just tuning in and tuning out, like trying to listen to when you should follow some noise and not in terms of like market feedback or trends or what this one said or that one said or what's going on. That's also unique to everyone in 2025. So I think that can be applicable to founders and basically anyone in any walk of life.
So now you're going to restart. What are some of the things you will definitely lean into and do, like lessons learned? This is what I'm going to do. And then also maybe 2 or 3 things that you can see this is going to help me grow and do what I believe is best for the business. And also a couple, 2 or 3 things that you're not going to do that you've learned isn't good.
Same with Rockaway. I think with Rockaway, the past 5 years with that has been a lot of learning because it's been a new channel. It's been a new product. It's been a new category. It's been a new profitability. Like the profitability on a $1.99 can of soda is different than a $35 bottle of rum. The drinking occasion. Anyway, there's a lot. I think what I want to lean into for, let's just say, Owney's 2.0 is what worked and felt really good and fun, which was relationship building, like building community with the trade, leaning into that, becoming like a bartender's choice and having that translate, that word of mouth, organic sort of culty brand building, translate from the bartender for me or my collection of people representing the brand to the bar trade to the consumer. What I won't do is push, guess 2 things. One, I was really good at not looking at the money, especially when I first started. I was young and naive and I just, wasn't as diligent as I could have been. So I think I'll be a lot more diligent with that. I will say no to distribution expansion if it's not the right time. I think that was one of the things that led me to the exit with Owney's. This was all a positive exit at the time. And in retrospect, it still was a positive event. There was a lot of demand. Most of our business was in New York, but new markets kept asking to be opened up, which is a great problem to have. And we would sell there. I think the problem was we didn't have enough people on the ground in these markets to cultivate the relationship. So I was running around, myself and one other woman who works with me were running around the country like crazy and having a lot of success in terms of working with the distributors, going into market, selling a ton, getting cocktail menu, all the things we needed to do. And we wouldn't be able to return to market for another couple of months. By the time we returned, all the work we had done hadn't been supported for 3 months because there wasn't another physical body on the ground. So I think I'll be more cautious about new markets, like have the team grow in line with market expansion.
It makes a lot of sense, right? I was just
Yes.
talking to a founder a couple weeks ago who was telling me that they had gotten an opportunity to distribute it into Walmart. And they said no, it wasn't the right time. It was going to drown them. I think there's wisdom in being able to figure out what you really can handle. And at the same time, the reason we are able to do what we do is because we take big bets.
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. And you get excited too, right? Like someone called you up and you're like, yeah, I want to be, because there was product market fit. It needed to be supported. And we just didn't have, it's hard to say no. So kudos to them for resisting it. I have a few friends and colleagues that have said yes to really big business too soon, in my opinion, and it has not gone very successfully. Then you have, like, to use a colloquial term, like you go out and raise money and all of your eggs are in one basket and you haven't really built a brand. You've just gotten one big client in consumer goods anyway. Like you have one huge client that's bringing in, you went from $100,000 in revenue to 5 million in revenue in 1 year, but it's one contract. And then what is really the value of that brand? It's almost like a commodity.
Yeah. And are you getting the best price? What happens to your margins? Exactly. Can you afford the working capital? Can you afford to, you're going to make something and you might have to have it on your books for 90 days before you get paid. And like, that's hard. That's serious growing pain. And you're in that business of dealing with cash flow and inventory and all of that. So
yeah, I could probably give a course on the differences in terms of cash flow management from CPG, like a soda business versus, I had a full distillery at the time. I had my own production facility. I won't have that going forward in Owney's 2.0. I'm going to have a really exciting production partner. But anyway, the distributors in liquor actually also pay you, which is, you'd think that they were more like the gangsters of yesteryear in terms of trying to, but the grocery distributors are more gangsters than the liquor guys, which was a learning for me in terms of the chargebacks and the promotional I guess kind of in the weeds with that stuff, but it really affects your cash flow because, you have a PO that goes out for $10,000, let's call it net 45 payment terms. And then all of a sudden you don't get anything from that because they've charged you back for this promotional thing, this fee, this warehouse fee. And it just keeps your POs accumulating as credits on their balance sheets. Maybe you got $20,000 all of a sudden in our POs and you wind up with a $500 check. And you don't ever really know. I imagine Rockaway is not at big scale at all. I imagine once you're at scale, that becomes a little bit more predictable, but it's still your business.
Well, and these are the things I think that's important for founders. Like every business has its weird little quirky in the middle of it things that, in my business, healthcare, certainly how you bill and all these different billers and who are the rules and, like all the stuff. And, they decide how much you get paid. All of this is in the guts of what makes a business work. And I love that you shared that in your first time around, you weren't just focused on the finances and you were in finance. So it's not uncommon. What I'm trying to say to our listeners is don't feel bad. No. There are so many hats you're wearing. When you're getting a business off the ground, finance seems like the last thing you should focus your attention on. even though if you don't, you're going to run out of money. And that is the number one reason businesses close.
Finance is what comes naturally to me. I was just more in such a mode of going hard and in an excited way, initially with Owney's from a sales and marketing perspective, that, neglecting looking at the bank account subconsciously or consciously, I don't know.
So I know you're fiercely independent, unapologetically independent. What does that independence mean for you in this stage of your life and your business with your partners, your husband, as a mother, now buying a new company, having a second, like, what is that fierce independence? How does that play itself out for you?
Yeah, it's living authentically. And I think I've always been someone who does things differently, doesn't follow the rules, is not interested in someone telling them what to do. And, there's a lot of pros to that. There's freedom in it, but there's also like the mind games that your mind can play with you. It's hard to do that. It's hard to stay true to yourself and live authentically in this world, especially in New York City, when you want to maintain a certain lifestyle, you want to raise your kids in a certain way, and you want to have your own businesses, and there are financial stressors. We're one of the only families in our community that doesn't have full-time childcare on staff. Harry and I do it ourselves because we want to do it ourselves, and we pass the kids back and forth. I have 2 businesses and now a podcast. And so it's putting a lot on the plate. When you get tired or run down or anxious or nervous, or you're in that dark uncertainty period of what's going to happen next, it's like the mind goes, oh, just get a job. Just get a job. You're worth a ridiculous amount from a compensation perspective, given your experience. And you got to rein yourself in, or I have to rein myself in, and like, nope, because if I do that, I'm going to be miserable, and then it's going to infect my entire family. And so every day is working on the mindset.
Agreed. And you have little children.
Yes. Yeah. One's 3, just 3 in September, and one is 9 months old.
So what do you say to being a full-on entrepreneur, buying, growing businesses, and being a mom?
Yeah, it's great. I'm so grateful to be in charge of my schedule and prioritizing my kids over pretty much everything. But that comes with a burden of like, okay, I got to make these businesses work. We have to eat off of them, using those fearful thoughts as motivation as opposed to debilitation. I think that, I've had a lot of, maybe it's my age or having young children, but I've thought a lot about society and how women have been, myself included, molded. I don't know. The messaging has been wrong for women and families. And like, it's not either or, it's not like you're a businesswoman or you're a mother. And I think that there's so much pressure on women to stay on their careers, and they've stayed on the path. And like, then I just look around and I wonder, like, I observe in my, immediate community, like, are some of these women going to have like regrets at the end of the day because they've missed like so much? I think that script needs to be rewritten. It's okay to pause. It's okay to be with your kids and enjoy the few years you have, and I just think you should ask and if the answer to the question is no, like, I want to unload this to somebody else or outsource it, fine. I just hope that people are asking those difficult questions themselves and making, the answers from their heart as opposed to like their mind and what society tells them they should be doing.
Well, I feel very encouraged that you have found a way to have your family the way you want to and still find a way to also be in the world. I've always found that I'm a better mom when I'm actively engaged in the world, right?
Totally.
Right. I did take a little break at one point and I was miserable. I really needed the stimulation of something other than kids. But I think it's a wonderful example that you set. So I am curious, and I don't ever ask about this in my casts, but tell us about Harry.
He's the best. Tomorrow's his birthday, actually. I'm forgetting all about it because I'm wrapped up in my own news. I have a trade show tomorrow for Rockaway Soda. But anyway, he's great. We've been together since we're kids. Since before I even got a job on Wall Street. So he's really seen me through Wall Street, leaving Wall Street, starting Owney's, selling Owney's, working for Proximo, running away from Proximo, starting Rock. He just I guess he knew what he married. We were together for 10 years before we got married, but he's very supportive of my resolve to continue to push myself and put our family's future at risk.
No, it's extraordinary. I have a great partner too. Frank is just like, you've met him, right? You've met him here.
Yeah.
And I've sensed that about you and Harry. Not everybody is able to have that, but when you do, particularly as a woman founder, when you have a partner in your life that can really be there for you and support, because it is terrifying when you are, there are moments of like, I remember for myself when COVID happened, I had plans for the business to keep growing and it wasn't, and we were running in a negative. I felt like I had a noose around my neck and it was attached to a very big boat that was going to sink. And takes a very strong partner to be with you and go through all of that with you.
Yes. The mental health aspect of being a founder is real. The ups and downs, highs and lows. And I totally agree. And maybe this is like antiquated of me to say and more of a gender role thing, but it's kind of like, it just is a rarity that there are women. There are obviously more male people in positions of like business, financial, founder power, whatever you want, word logos you want to put on it. And I feel grateful that I have found a partner and given the roles and gender play in society that is cool with just being in the background, like supporting, taking a break from his career to help with the kids. I just don't think many men could handle that, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're sending our love to Harry because that's really special. How has your definition of success changed over the years? How is it different, from when you were in hedge fund world to maybe at the beginning of Owney's to now?
Yeah. I think that it continues to evolve. In the hedge fund world, it was money. I was young, making a lot of money, going on fancy vacations, being the youngest person in the room by 20 plus years in these hotels. Then that started to feel weird and empty. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of miserable at what I'm doing at the hedge fund. I don't like who I'm working with. I'm kind of bored with what I'm doing, just moving money around with no real purpose. Aside from making more of it, that definition of success changed from I don't care, money is not going to drive me anymore. Then I had this aha moment with rum and I'm bringing rum back. The vision was to bring rum back and it was also to sell the company. It was like, I'm going to do this. This is what you do. This is how you. So that was more of purpose and real tangibility. I went from sitting behind a desk and moving stocks around to driving a forklift around a distillery and like making rum in like, steel-toed boots and like, construction worker gear. That was part purpose and part money. It's interesting to talk this out loud because I haven't really gone this deep with it in my thoughts. There was the money exit, the nice exit, which was relieving at the time. It was good. I was like, there's money in the bank. Then I was graciously awarded a nice opportunity to work with Proximo. So there was comfort for years. Like the first year was great with Proximo. I got married. I went on vacations. Like there was nothing to worry about financially. And then I started to get like itchier. Year 2, I was like, eh. And by year 3, I was like, I need to do something on my own again. Then Rockaway was a lot of my success there. Hometown, give back. Then I had 2 children. And now it's like the definition of success is financial freedom and also the opportunity to not to miss what I want to miss and not miss what I don't want to miss with my family. So I think it's a holistic approach to success and happiness. Part lifestyle, family is first, style, and then really loving what you do. I remember when I first started to feel that way, there was no such thing as a Sunday scary anymore. Every day I was working and enjoying it, and there wasn't like a burden. There there was anxieties, but in terms of like finances and how to get the business going where I wanted it to go, but it wasn't like a boss or a Sunday night or living for a weekend. And, I think all of that, it's kind of all of that experience has melded together. It's like family businesses, independence with my businesses, profitability. If I wind up making zillions of dollars, great. But the goal is to maintain the nice lifestyle I like and have the freedom to enjoy family.
I love it. Okay, let's do a fast fire round. I'm going to give you 5 questions to answer with 5 words or less. Favorite drink, and not one that you make.
Not one of mine.
Not one of yours, a favorite drink.
Coffee.
One thing you wish every founder understood about risk.
You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable with the unknown, and you'll know when you know.
Coffee meeting or ocean swim.
Never done an ocean swim for a meeting, but an ocean swim. Yes, great idea. I'm implementing that summer 2026.
If you could bottle one quality of yours and sell it, what would it be? Passion.
Compassion. Passion and compassion.
Compassion. Very good. When it's all said and done, what do you want people to say about how you built this?
On my own terms.
Yeah. On your own terms. Yes. So where can we find you? Where can we find your soda and your rum?
Soda is most important for sales right now. Amazon, Rockaway Soda, www.drinkrockway.com, direct from our website. And we are in about 500 points of distribution in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. Retailers like Stop and Shop, ShopRite, Citarella, and a lot of natural independent grocers throughout the 5 boroughs. The rum, again, in a few months, it's going to be in a bit of a hibernation mode. We are going to refresh our look and come out with a bang in 2026.
Can't wait.
Tuned.
Stay tuned. I want to be there for that relaunch.
Yes. You could follow both businesses on Instagram or Facebook at Drink Rockaway and Owney's Rum at Owney's Rum.
Oh, I'm super excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Coco, the press release came out like an hour before this, and now I feel a lot more grounded. There was so much going on, and now that was a nice conversation to kind of rebalance, recalibrate.
Oh, I'm so glad I
look at my emails again. Maybe I'll take a minute and walk around the block before I do that.
Well, it's a big deal. And you created an incredible journey. And now you're back into rum. I'm so happy for you. I remember the last time you were here and in my home and we were chatting and you were saying how much you loved the rum business. I think it's really cool. Like that you have this opportunity to do the process of going back and buying it. And now that you get to do it again, as a founder, I think it's so exciting and kick-ass.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to all watch your podcast, listen in on your podcast too, right? What's it called?
Yes. New York Raised Us.
New York Raised Us. Okay. All right. And so I'm going to put a link for that in the show notes, folks. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you for joining us on the Wisdom of Women show. We appreciate your honesty and your story and giving us so much to think about. To all of our world-changing listeners, be sure to follow, like, or share the Wisdom of Women show on whatever your favorite platform. Don't forget to infuse more of your wisdom into your business. Take the Growth Readiness Quiz at aforceforgood.biz/quiz and uncover where your insight is needed most. The world is made better by women-led businesses, so let's all go make the world a better place. Cheers.